What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there. How we doing today, Casino?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm ad-libbing, as you can see. Feeding my child. He's wearing a tracksuit. He's feeling pretty cool.
But the world debut of your baby on this podcast.
Fair enough.
Which,
What the heck was that? Oh, no, I can hear you. I just got like a ring-a-ding-ding on my laptop saying I can save up to 2.17 gigabytes space on my PC. No, thank you. I'm good.
But
it's just going to cost $100 a month.
Yeah. But we are here to talk about Week 12 in the NFL. We're here to talk about Thanksgiving. How was your Thanksgiving, Casino?
It was okay. The original Thursday plans got moved to Saturday plans. Family members got sick and whatnot, but still turned out good. Because on the fly, this is a shout out to Claim Jumper. They had 5 options that you could get. They only did holiday meals. Like, they didn't have their regular food items up for order. It was just like 5 meals. It was like a tri-tip, turkey, ham, or like a combination of those. And 3-course meal too. And you know what? I was just like, all right, it's going to be half-assed. It's going to be bad. It was really good. They put together a really good meal. And it tasted good. It was seasoned right. It was good proportions. Hats off to their Thanksgiving day.
Shout out to our new sponsor, Claim Jumper.
I'm trying.
But only on Thanksgiving.
Oh, yes.
I can't remember the last time I ate a Claim Jumper. Maybe when I was 10 years old, which at this point was 45 years ago. 45 years ago.
You aged beautifully, sir.
Thank you so much.
How was your Thanksgiving? What'd you do?
I literally worked the entire day. It's the busiest day at my work all year, so I literally work like 12 hours.
So do they serve turkey at where you work?
Yes, they do. And dude, I'll tell you what, I don't like stuffing. And I love sweet potatoes, right? Like the candied sweet potatoes or whatever, where they put like the marshmallows on it.
You and my daughter, man.
Dude, that's like probably a number right behind ham, because I always like ham on Thanksgiving more than turkey. But like ham's like number
both.
1.
That's how I get my figure.
What a glorious figure it is. But I go ham, I go sweet potatoes, number 2, and then number 3, I usually go like pumpkin pie. I fucking hate stuffing though. Cannot stand it. My work makes like a couple different like seasonal Thanksgiving meals, or like not meals, but like side dishes, including turkey. And one of the side dishes was stuffing, and I was like, you know what, I'll try it. The best stuffing I've ever had in my fucking life.
Nice.
I was like blown away. And so but other than working 12 hours a day, the food was good. But you know what was also good? I would say that we had football on Thanksgiving, except every game
was so bad. My hope for any good games, man.
I guess
they were a struggle to get through.
No, I mean, our best shot, I guess our closest shot at a good game was the first game, which is going to be the first one we're going to talk about today, which was the now 5-6 Green Bay Packers beat the Detroit Lions, who are now 8-3 in Detroit, which is also crazy. They beat them 29-22 after getting to a halftime lead of 23-6. So, and I think your message to me during this game perfectly summed it up, which is just, you asked, who is or what is Jordan Love at this point? Just what is he? Because
his whole thing was he couldn't pass downfield. He couldn't pass downfield. And then all of a sudden now he's like, all right. I'm going to tap into the previous quarterbacks here and start slinging it. There's something in that Green Bay water, man, that apparently That's all he needed was just to drink that. Now he's going to turn into what? The next Favre or Rodgers. I mean, I don't want to give him that much credit. He's not going to, but still, that was it. The last few games, man. You got to kind of give it to him for stepping up to all the haters talking about, oh, you can't sling it downfield and you can't move the football in the passing game. Dude, 3 touchdowns, 22 for 32, almost 300 yards. Not bad. Not bad for somebody who couldn't throw the football downfield.
I mean, yeah, in the last, what is it, since week 9, where they beat the Rams and then they lost to the Steelers, they beat the Chargers and then the Lions. In that 4-game stretch, he has gone 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, with a quarterback rating of over 100 3 times and 72 for that Steelers game. So it is crazy that
what the one stat that I looked at just last game. I'm going to cut you off here. Last game, looking at it, is he had 4 receivers averaging over 12 yards. Dude, the whole first half of the season, he couldn't throw the ball more than 5 yards without it getting almost picked or batted down or incomplete pass. Like, he couldn't get it past 5 yards. But
No.
it's realistically past 10 yards, and now he's just comfortable throwing the ball downfield. Whatever he's drinking, man. Kudos.
Yeah. Well, for Packers fans, you can look forward to 1 Super Bowl from him. And then for Jets fans, you can look forward to him being on your team in 10 years. So, I mean, this is the sky's looking up. But as far as the Packers go, I think you and I were both super impressed with Jordan Love. I mean, just in the game,
wow.
You said the 3 touchdowns, but he was 22 for 38, 268 yards. They had no running game no running offense in the game. Jordan Love was the second leading rusher, and he only rushed 3 times for 40 yards. Christian Watson had a great game, and then their defense, I mean, what for your Super Bowl pick, Casino, are you concerned about the Detroit Lions?
No. I mean, this was an off game. Dude, no, this is an off game. I'm chalking this up to an off game. They all get one. They all get one.
And again, it's one of those,
like one of their other loss was, you had the one loss against oh wow, my son just burped like crazy.
So they got destroyed by the Ravens.
Yeah.
They
lost in a close one to Seattle.
They lost in OT to Seattle, and then they lost this game. So their 3 losses are
yeah, I mean, Seattle, again, I think is still a good team. Like I said, they're still flirting with the playoffs, and that's where I thought they would be on the tail end of the playoffs. And then the Ravens, arguably, the best team in the AFC. They are the top spot. So yeah, and I chalked this game up to, it's the Packers. It was a close game. They let the Packers get out early on them. I mean,
game.
20 of their points were in the first quarter, man. So they just let him get out early. They were flat to start the game. That's what I'm chalking it up to. Because Goff, he didn't really have. I know he's been a little off Goff lately. See what I did there? Off Goff, but he had a decent game. He wasn't horrible.
Yeah, but that was also on the second half, because the first half they weren't doing anything.
Yeah,
and then the second half came on.
That's what I'm saying. They came out flat, and it was too much to come back, down. I mean, they were down early in this game. So the 20 points was the backbreaker in the first quarter. That's tough for any team, like a good team even, to come back down 20 points in the first.
Well, I mean, unless you're, like a really good other NFC team or something like that. That is just all they do is come back in the second half. But we'll get to that. But
win, no matter what.
I do think if I am a Lions fan, and I root for the Lions as long as they're just not against, the Eagles, but I root for the Lions because they're the lovable losers, right?
That's why you don't. Yeah, they are lovable. And you do the reverse jinx. You still cheer for the Lions. So
That's true. Yes. But I do think when you watch the Detroit Lions this season, I think the thing that's going to cost them uh maybe they win one playoff game, but I think the thing that's going to cost them so they don't go all the way is just their back half of the defense, their defensive backs and their safeties just get torched every single game they play. I mean, they made Jordan Love look like Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre when, again, we talked about it, 3-4 weeks ago, a month ago, we didn't know if he could pass the ball downfield, and now all of a sudden he's completely destroying the Lions secondary. So I don't trust the Lions pass defense, and I'll look it up right now what their rating is. I still like the Detroit Lions defense as a whole, but oddly they feel like a less talented Eagles defense, which is if they don't get any pressure up front, you can definitely pass on them in the back. But again, I don't think their D line is as formidable as the Eagles. So you have a weaker D line that isn't helping your back end defense. And then Jordan Love throws 3 touchdowns on you, right? So especially when they're going to have to play either the Eagles, the 49ers, or the Cowboys, which are 3 of the best passing offenses in the league at the moment. So their pass defense right now, I'm looking, it's 20th in the league. And then their rush defense is 5th. So they're almost exactly like the Eagles because the Eagles pass defense is 29th in the league and their rush defense is 3rd. So you have sorry. So you have just 2 great teams who defense you can get torched on, but the difference is the Eagles give up a lot of yards and then they're really stingy with giving up points. The Lions give up a lot of yards and also a lot of points. So I don't know if right now, Casino, the Lions they're going to have to be in shootouts with the Eagles, the 49ers, the Cowboys. I think they're the 4th team in that 4-team race of who you think would win in a shootout, right?
Yeah, that's fair, but I still like my pick.
It's still going strong. They're still the second or third.
Yeah, but now they need that top tier win.
Yeah. Well, they play the Cowboys December 30th. So
that I'm circled that on my calendar.
All right. We had to take a short break for technical difficulties, but we are back. Let's jump to the next Thanksgiving Day game. We're not going to talk about all the games in detail. I got about 6 games here that we're really going to go in depth on, and then we'll talk about the rest. But one of the games I just wanted to touch on, because I don't really think there's anything here. It was just the other Thanksgiving game, which was the now 8-3 Dallas Cowboys beat the now 4-8 Washington Commanders 45-10. Casino was having an orgasm over there over the Deron Bland pick 6. I was like, it's cool. Obviously, because it's a Cowboys thing, I don't give a shit. But also, it's one of those ones where I'm like, that's a cool stat, but it's like that ESPN thing where everybody just goes so hard on like all these fucking stats and records. I don't care.
Well, no, I
don't care.
I agree with like the overstat thing sometimes, but that like a pick 6, like that's been a part of the game for a very long time since the beginning. Picking a quarterback off and running to the other way, like that's really cool, man. Like that's tough to do, especially in today's age. So
no, I get it. It's impressive. I'm a very stats oriented guy, but I don't give a shit about records, right? Like that's kind of where I'm at. Like
take that for data.
Yeah. Last night, LeBron James broke the record for most minutes played in the NBA, but then they lost the game he broke that record in by 40 to my Sixers, which was awesome. But they lost that game by 40, and then it's kind of just like, that's a cool stat, but it's also you lost by 40. Like, I know they don't have anything to do with each other, but I don't know. I'm just a wins guy. Give me wins. And the impressive thing about this game is that the Dallas Cowboys are now 8-3, and they have I believe they're tied for second with the 49ers and Lions for second best record in the NFC, right? All these teams are 8-3. I believe so, right? But
I'm looking
my
that up. I was
issue
putting my kid's sock back on.
my issue with
3 You are
this
correct, sir.
Cowboys, so they're all tied for 8-3.
Yeah.
So my issue with this Dallas Cowboys team is this game was done by the third quarter, right? The Cowboys were up 20-10. Washington could not get anything going. I mean, Sam Howell threw for 300 yards, but there was just no scoring whatsoever. So then if this game is over in the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, why are the Cowboys still putting all their starters and just passing like they're down by 3 touchdowns
Because they
to
want to look
score
good. They
25
want
points?
to look
That's my
good.
problem. That's my problem with this Cowboys team. They want
They're
to
stat padding. They're stat
they're
padding.
stat padding. That's my issue. To score 25 points in the fourth quarter of this game where you're actively trying to score, it rubs me the wrong way. I don't know why. And again, it's not even a Cowboys thing. It's just like what other team in the league would be doing this kind of thing, right? Like take it, just make them go.
Miami.
Yeah, well, that's true. But see, Miami was like they pulled their starters, right? And the coach, they asked him about it afterwards, like, why didn't you guys go for the record? And then he was just like, why would we do that? Like it was like one of those like kind of anomaly things, but
I
they
would have done it.
the whole game.
I would
I
have
mean,
done it.
but see, that's a cool record, but it's also like Miami might meet Denver again in the playoffs, and you don't think Denver's going to be like, we're way better now, and we're just going to fucking make sure you know it. Like, I feel like that will have, and I feel like it already has for the Dolphins, just had bad juju because
Bad
now, yeah,
Juju
'cause then
Smith-Schuster.
they
I mean,
lose
he's
the
pretty
next
bad.
game after that.
He's pretty bad.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, just rub me the wrong way, and then they doing the
You gotta stop saying that because I really want to just say I want to rub you the right way.
I mean,
Like
let's save it for after the show.
genie in a bottle.
Yeah,
There
yeah. But
you go.
again, Cowboys have not won a single game against a team with a winning record. The Eagles now, because they're in the same division, are 5-0 against teams with a winning record. And yet everybody just keeps acting like the Cowboys are this far superior team. When again, against this Washington Commanders team, they were up 20-10 going into the fourth quarter. And then all of a sudden they decided, like, we're going to do all these, like, we're just going to, like you said, stat pad or just do all this kind of bullshit.
A lot of them
And
was
then they
also
have,
turnovers, right?
well, no, the Commanders only had 1 interception. I think they had 2 or 3 fumbles, right?
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't really paying attention to this game because, again, everybody knew what was going to happen and it happened. But then the Cowboys do that thing.
No, it was just 1 interception. So I was thinking of a different game.
But they do the thing where they hide like the turkey in the.
I hate it. So I'm
bag
glad you brought
thing
that
or
up because I
whatever.
forgot about that.
Ugh.
How is that not a flag? That's a prop. That's a fucking prop.
I also don't understand that.
I did not.
I don't
It made
understand
no
it.
sense to me. Like my wife was watching that and she goes, "Are they allowed to do that?" And they go,
I know,
"No,
and it's
actually, no, they're not.
They're not.
They're not allowed to do that." Like I find props funny. I like it. Like I want them.
Oh
I'm
yeah, me
fine
too.
with. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all for it. I want like old blitz, like video game, like goofy shit. I want all that. But if you're going by the rule book, right now you can't use props. And
I mean, we'll get to officiating, especially when we talk about the Eagles-Bills game, because I think this was
again,
finally
it's such
the
an
week that, like, broke me.
overcorrection that people don't know what to do anymore. Plus, it
Yeah.
was the Cowboys, and they're like, "Oh, well, he jumped in. You know, it's Christmas, it's giving, and Thanksgiving, and yay, holidays. We're gonna let it pass, Cowboys, yay."
And then we're also having this like Dak Prescott MVP discussion. And then it's just like, yeah, great. Does anybody watch the games? Because you can
Dude,
look at the stats and be like, yeah,
he's not
all
even
his
he's not
stats are
even in a
great.
top 5 for me.
I don't think so either. Because again, 0-3 versus winning teams. You only play who's on your schedule. So all the teams that are winning, you've played, you've lost against. And also, we keep like talking about the Cowboys and being like, oh, well, they annihilated this team, they annihilated this team. The only two good teams they have really like played is the Eagles and 49ers. The Eagles game, they basically got gift wrapped that game in the fourth quarter. They were on the 5-yard line, could not score to win that game. And then the 49ers blew them out by what, 5 touchdowns?
Something like
Like,
that.
and it's just, we're having an MVP discussion. It's like, where is the MVP? Because if it's just beating up on shit teams, like, what shit team are you going to play in the playoffs? Because last I checked, it's 0. It's 0.
Yeah, so he's put up 10 touchdowns and 1 interception in the last 3 games. His last 3 games, Giants, Panthers, Commanders, the Commanders who were okay on defense beginning of the season, but like I said, when they played the Patriots, they got rid of their 2 best pass rushers.
Yeah.
Like they
Well,
they
they're
up shop.
clearly
So
in a
like the
rebuild.
Commanders don't have anybody on defense anymore, like nothing. So the Giants shithole, but yet they can still beat my team. Panthers
Oh, we'll talk about that.
shithole, I know, and then Commanders, like who got rid of their best defensive players. Like,
Yeah.
okay, 10 touchdowns, cool, you're crushing it, but no, like fuck off. The Rams, yes, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, but you're losing to the teams that you need to beat. 49ers, guess what? He had 3 interceptions and a touchdown. Like, be better.
Who was the other, or they lost to, so their 3 losses are the Cardinals, which again, he threw the game losing interception into triple coverage, a pass that no MVP elite quarterback should ever make, right? And then
Right.
they lose to the Eagles when he was on the 5-yard line, had multiple attempts at it, couldn't get it done. And then again, like you just said,
And they
against
got
the
blown out by
49ers,
the Niners.
they lost by 32 points. Like 32 points. So 4 touchdowns and a field
I
goal.
like how we weren't really going to talk about this game, and we're just
I know. Well, we just like shitting on the Cowboys. It's fun. But
speaking of shitting on the Cowboys, let's move on. No.
Let's move on.
That was my transition. Was absolutely nothing.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
But congrats to the Cowboys. We'll see you in the playoffs. Next up, the 8-3 San Francisco 49ers win 31-13 against the now 6-5 Seattle Seahawks. The story to take away from this game, Casino, really is Geno Smith, did he turn back into a pumpkin?
Yes.
I think so too.
But you know
he
what?
Just does not
I
look
still
good
think
this
they're going to
season.
be good enough to make. I mean, they're sitting in a playoff spot right now. Wait, one. So like you get there. Yeah, they're in one of the 2 wild cards. They're in a playoff spot right now. So
yeah, but I mean, you just look at him this season, and it's just night and day from what he was last season. So far this year,
true.
he has 12 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Like, I mean, it's not, and his completion percentage.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about him specifically, yes, he's turned back into a pumpkin. If you want to talk about the team I think is still good enough to get one of those 2 wild card spots. Oh, 3 now. I forget that we've just extended, or we're just going to end up having playoff where everybody's in it. So,
but see, their defense has also kind of fallen off a cliff. They went back down all the way to 23rd in total defense. So now you have Geno Smith not being kind of what he was outside of last year, where, you know, he surprised everybody and was legitimately at one point like in league MVP discussions where you could make a case for him. Now he is a bottom, or he's kind of back to what he was, which is kind of just like an average quarterback. I mean, he's 33 years old, so he's been in the league for 11 years.
Right.
Has the experience, and that's, you know, Pete Carroll was like, this is our guy. Everybody was like, are you fucking crazy? And then he had the year he did last year. But now, rush defense of the Seahawks is 21st in the league. Passing defense is 22nd. And then their overall defense is 23rd. So again, you're a bottom tier defensive team. Your offense in multiple games just sputters and you have nothing. I don't even know where the fuck DK Metcalf is, right? Like he's just become he's just gone. Like there are some games where he just
same with Lockett.
disappears. Yeah, Lockett, I mean, that whole Seattle offense will just go entire games where you're like, who did anything in this game? I mean, against bottom tier teams when they just played them, but
I mean, but the Niners, I mean, they are a great defense. We got to give them that. So moving on to them, talking about offensive play. But
even with the 49ers' great defense, Purdy didn't have a great game. Like that was a pretty bad Purdy game. He had 209 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Again, against a bottom tier defense.
Decent completion rating though.
Yeah, well, he threw 30 attempts, 30 passes. He completed 21 of them, and then Christian McCaffrey had a great game. He was averaging.
I wanted to ask you about. I wanted to side note on Christian McCaffrey while my kid screams here. In his career, do you chalk him up as one of the best offensive players, like overall offensive players? I don't want to say ever, but definitely in the last 20 years.
No, because I don't think he's reliable. I don't think you can count on him. You look at his career and 2017, he came into the league. He played all 16 games. He got 435 yards, right? Like, and this is just strictly rushing.
Yeah. What team?
For the but that was when the Panthers were kind of good. They were still good. But 18-19, he has great years, right? Almost 1,100 yards rushing. Next year, almost 1,400 yards rushing. That's when he like really kicks on. And then he also had 1,000 receiving yards that year. One of those years he had 867. Then he gets injured. He only plays 3 games. Next year, he gets injured, only plays 7 games. Next year, he gets injured, only plays 6 games. Last year, he got injured.
But look at the numbers that he's doing when he's coming back from injury.
But that's what I'm saying. But I feel like when he's in games, he's electric, right? And I mean, in this game, this season, he's been fully healthy and he's in MVP talks, right?
This team on offense is so stacked. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And we'll
while you continue talking about this one, I'm gonna go change my kid's diaper because he about, I think, shit out of his pants.
Yeah, but no, in this game, to talk McCaffrey, he had 19 carries, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 yards a carry, averaging 6 yards a carry, which is nuts. Again, against a bad Seattle defense, but you have to factor in it's a divisional game. They've already played them. It's Thursday night, all those caveats, and 31-13 is impressive. Same way you can say about the Cowboys Commanders game. I mean, I know we just shit all over the Cowboys, but that's because it's fun to shit on the Cowboys because so many people in the media are just sucking off the Cowboys. I feel like we need to pump the brakes and kind of reset and be like, okay, let's put everything into context. So the context of this game is, to me, Brock Purdy had a bad game and they still won by almost 4 touchdowns. Like, I mean, they won 31-13, so damn near close. And again, I watched the game and the game was almost over immediately. And you never felt like the Seahawks even had a chance, but the 49ers weren't playing that great. The Seahawks were playing they didn't show up. So then you look at the final score and you're just like, I watched the game and I still don't know how it was like this. The 49ers defense is legit. I think their offense is pretty hot or cold. I still think all the hate that Brock Purdy gets is unwarranted. I don't think you could plug any quarterback into the system and get the kind of production that he's giving because, again, I don't think Jimmy G is a good indication of this offense because everybody's like, oh, well, Jimmy G went to the Raiders and he could barely. And it's also just like, yeah, because he's older now. He's been injured almost his entire career. Like that shit catches up to you. Like everybody just thinks every quarterback now can just be Tom Brady and play till they're almost 50 years old or 40 years old or, you know, between 40 and 50. And it's just like, that's not how it works. Like, and again, when the career catches up to you, you look at guys like Peyton Manning or Dan Marino, like they could barely throw the ball when they were finally, you look at that last Peyton Manning season. I mean, I believe that was the one they won the Super Bowl in, but he had a real shit year, could barely even do anything, and that defense carried him. So, you look at the 49ers, and I don't think what happened with Jimmy G is an indication that you just plug and play anybody in this offense, because Brock Purdy comes in and he, again, everybody just dismisses like, oh, not MVP candidate, but juxtapose him to Dak Prescott, where now it's like, oh man, Dak Prescott is in the MVP conversation. They have very similar stats. Only difference is the 49ers, when they played the Cowboys, they destroyed them. When they played the Jaguars, they destroyed them. So every team they've played with a winning record, they've destroyed, and Purdy has had his best games against, right? And then the games he's had bad, we've talked about it multiple times. It was like, oh, the two bad games he had, he was concussed. The one game they lost to the Browns, he drove them down the field for a field goal. So like this insane notion that Brock Purdy is overrated or something like that. It's like, show me the evidence that he is overrated, because right now he has 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and their team is going into Philadelphia, where I'm an Eagles fan, but I really think this is the 49ers like Super Bowl, kind of like how the Eagles viewed that Chiefs game, where you think about it all off season, you get really hyped up, and then you got to come out and deliver. And now I wish the Eagles would have smacked Kansas City more in the mouth, but just going into Kansas City and then walking out with a win was super impressive. So now we'll see the 49ers Eagles this week. We'll talk about that more on our Friday.
That's going to be a good
show.
one. Yeah, that's going to be a good game. That's going to be a real good game.
Yeah. But now that
let me ask you this just real quick. If the Eagles do win that one, do you finally feel like they can actually win this year's Super Bowl?
Oh, no. I've completely flipped on this Eagles team. And you know what? That was the next game we're going to talk about. So now get ready for a rant, Casito, because I'm going fucking scorched earth. Fuck all these NFL fans, everybody online who is just like, oh man, this team is so bad. They're so overrated. The only team ever to go a 10-win season followed by a 10-win season, and after losing like a Super Bowl, where there's this thing called a Super Bowl hangover, where usually when you are either win the Super Bowl or lose in the Super Bowl, you come back the next year and you just are bad. And then it's just like, oh, well, last year, all they did was play shit teams, right? And they rolled through them all and got to the Super Bowl. Again, this year, when it happens to the Cowboys, we just have to all get on our knees and suck the Cowboys' dick because they're destroying all these bad teams. You only play who's on your schedule. What are they supposed to do? Blah, blah, blah. Last year, when it happened to the Eagles, they got lucky. They were overrated. They just had, the luck of the draw schedule-wise. Oh, let's see. This year, they have a top 5 hardest schedule in the league. So far, the past couple of weeks, they've had the hardest schedule in the league. And let's look at their win-loss record. Oh, they've won all those games. Oh, the 5 teams they've played with some of the best quarterbacks in the league. Oh my God. They're 5-0 in those games. And guess what? They're 5-0 in those games where they're giving the other team a 10-point lead in almost all of them. So now you're going to say, oh my God, it's the referees, right? The referees are giving them these games, the Eagles and the refs. So in that Buffalo Eagles game, Casino,
I
How
watched
many
every second of it.
Yeah, so the first half was fucking weird, right? There was some calls against both teams where I was like scratching my head and I was like, what's going on? I'll argue all day about that horse collar tackle on Josh Allen. That was not a horse collar. You can see Hassan Reddick pulling him by his jersey, evident by the fact that when Josh Allen got up, his jersey was entirely almost ripped off his body. So how is that a horse collar when he's pulling him down by the jersey and he literally rips his jersey off? If it's a horse collar, you're pulling the pads, not the jersey. So put that bullshit aside. Also, that was not intentional grounding. So that shouldn't have been a penalty on either side. It's not a horse collar tackle. It's not intentional grounding. It should have just been a sack or a throwaway, and then nobody would have talked about it. But in that Eagles Bills game, second half penalties and penalty yards, the Eagles got called for 3 penalties for 25 yards, 2 of them on the final drive of the game, and on ticky tack, like center flinched bullshit, right?
Dude,
And
I
it was
I
like
looked
false
for that
start.
flinch.
Well, it happened twice.
Right, but there was the one of them that they showed in slow-mo. That was like camera tricks. That was the rain making him flinch. Like I that was the simp. I'll just straight to it. I didn't see a flinch. Might have to go get my eyes checked. I didn't see it
Well,
on one of
and
them.
then so on those 2, it's 3 penalties for 25 yards. The Bills had 1 penalty for 5 yards. Again, in the entire second half of that game. And I mean, we're all talking like, oh my God, the Bills got fucked in that game. The Bills got fucked in that game. They had 1 penalty that was missed in the first half. You can throw the horse collar in there as well. They went into halftime with a 10-point lead. So they were getting fucked by the referees, right? All the refs did was help the Eagles, except the Bills had a 10-point lead and then didn't call another penalty on this Bills team for the entire second half. So what's the excuse? What's the argument? I thought the Eagles were dog shit. So why is the
I don't know.
Bills
Like
giving up a 10-point lead in the second half?
I've never cared for the Eagles, obviously being Patriot fan and just Philly fans annoy the shit out of me. I mean, you annoy the shit out of me.
Exactly.
But I don't know. But I don't understand, just for the love of the game. It's a good movie. I just don't understand this notion of the Eagles are bad, because I'm not on your forums and all that stuff that you see and you read and whatnot.
Ugh.
I just listen to the radio. I see people on TV, and I'm like, what? It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me that there's so little praise for a team that's actually really, really good.
Well, and then
I
again,
mean,
like
don't get me wrong. They do have you're not touching on the ones where, like, there are people out there who are like what you're saying. Holy shit, they're great. Like, everybody, what the fuck are you talking about? There are a lot of people like that, and I do see those people and hear them talk, but the majority, I just don't get it.
No. And right now, the Eagles are 19th in the league in defense. They have a top 10 offense with their in the league in passing, they're 13th in the league. And then their rushing offense is 8th. And then again, what is it? Nobody wants to give Jalen Hurts his flowers. He made, I mean, 3 of the best plays in that game you're ever gonna fucking see in your life. Like that touchdown pass to, I can't even say his name, the like 4th string wide receiver or whatever in the back of the end zone. There's a field camera view of that play where that guy's running around. He's literally, Jalen Hurts is literally screaming to that guy, like, go back, get open, get open. And then he just launches it on a fucking rope in between 2 defenders right into the guy's hands. And then the go ahead, that like final drive in
In a torrential
overtime.
downpour, dude.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that. Like, the conditions of that game were insane. Josh Allen played one of the best games I've ever seen him play. He was lights out on the ground and passing, but then you had Hurts literally just putting on a clinic of that last drive, doing everything with his arms and legs he possibly could. And then um yeah, and then did you see the kick casino? Because I told you
I did.
to
I looked
watch
it
it.
up. That was wild. Yeah, so it was a 59-yard kick, and the conditions windy, rainy, like it was hard to see the field rainy on TV. And
Yeah.
they have all that good quality cameras to like cut through all that rain. But man, it was still almost looking foggy because there was so much rain.
Well,
And
there was
how in the hell did he kick
I
with
have no
with as
idea.
heavy as that rain was, getting it 59 yards in the first place is wild. And then the second is also playing fucking that old paper toss game. With the fan you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, the old paper
Yeah, yeah.
toss. Everybody listening to this has played paper toss at least once in their life. I guarantee it. But that's what it was like watching that field goal go in.
It was first off, that's one of the best kicks I've ever seen in my life. Like, I think you can really put that right there with the Vinatieri kick in the snow, just based on
Yeah,
distance,
buddy. That was a
conditions,
good kick.
like,
Adam
because there were
Vinatieri,
reports.
Adam Vinatieri, top 5 favorite player of all time. He has to be. He won the Patriots single-handedly like 3 Super Bowls. So
Yeah. And I think you can put that kick up against anybody's kick. I mean, for the conditions to be like, okay, we're going to do it 59 yards, because before that game started, there were reports from the stands of fans being like, I can't see the field. Like, that's how much rain is coming down. And it looked like, I mean, for the entire first 3 quarters of that game, it looked like all it did was rain nonstop. So for that condition, for this Bills team to basically, this was the game where if the Bills won this game, they have a shot at the playoffs. If they don't, they're most likely going to miss the playoffs.
that
So
is
this was
wild to
basically the
think that the
Bills.
Bills are a
Yeah,
chance of not making the playoffs.
they're 6-6, and this would have kept them
Pick up
in the
sticks.
hunt. And now they're basically out of it. Like, so this was basically the Bills Super Bowl. And to lose it in the way they did, I mean, Josh Allen had a great game, but that interception he threw was backbreaking, because all of a sudden the Eagles are up 10. They immediately score a touchdown. They immediately score another touchdown. And now all of a sudden they're up 4. And you just had a 10-point lead. And it's just like, how the fuck did this happen? Hurts gets 5 touchdowns in that game. Again, I guess because it wasn't on Thanksgiving and because it wasn't against a shit team, we just have to completely disregard 5 touchdowns, because he also didn't fucking eat a turkey leg on the field or whatever the fuck we're doing. And it wasn't like, I don't know. But again, now they go play the 49ers, but I think that's going to be a great game. But again, Jalen Hurts, nobody talks about it. 23-2 in his career as a starter, as if that's just like nothing. And also, people are just like, oh, well, I mean, he has a great team around him. Has a great team around him. Gardner Minshew is in Indianapolis winning games with that team. He didn't win any games when he was the Eagles' backup quarterback. He actually lost them a couple games. So this like insane notion where you put any quarterback on this team and they're doing this. It's just like they're doing what? Winning every single game, because what other quarterback in the league is doing that on all these? And again, this insane notion that like all these great quarterbacks don't have stacked teams around them. Like Mahomes has, for his career up until this year, he had 2 of the best offensive play callers, maybe in NFL history, as his head coach and offensive coordinator. He has a Hall of Fame tight end. He has the best wide receiver in the league. And then now he has a top 5 defense. And we just act like Mahomes comes out there with fucking janitors and custodians around him and is winning 10 games a season. Like, this is a team sport. And for
Right.
this insane notion that, oh, well, all these
Well, I mean, that's
quarterbacks,
kind of the
like, they
same
have
thing.
nothing.
Like Brady made other players on offense look really good, but they have also always had a really good defense. So
Yeah.
But I
And
mean,
the Eagles
yeah.
defense, I mean, it's like 20th in the league, and yet Jalen Hurts is just, and again, they show him on the sidelines when that kick goes in, and his reaction is like he just looked at, he just is like watching paint dry. He has
Oh yeah,
no
him.
reaction to
I
it.
saw the side by side of both him and Andrews, or not Andrews. I
Or
was
no,
thinking Patriots.
Kelsey.
Yeah. See, I'm still Patriots on the mind. Another really good center, but just on a shit team. Um, but both of Kelsey and Hurts, when that went through, they both shook their head. Like people are
Yeah,
like,
like,
"Oh," I read the comments on that. Everybody's like, "Oh, they're so ungrateful. They don't want to go play OT and blah blah blah." And it was like, no, they're shaking their head because they're in awe that their kicker just fucking did that.
yeah. And then also, I would be remiss, Casino. Last bit we'll talk about on this game. Bills defensive tackle Jordan Phillips, number 97, got his panties in a bunch where he got into it with Eagles fans on the sidelines. Let me, for all NFL fans who are not fans of Eagles, you're a soft little bitch if you let Eagles fans get to you, because going in that's their main goal. So when you react to them, that is what they want from you, right? So when you go, I mean, you can
Philly
watch
fans.
there's that one video
Philly fans.
of him going, I mean, I know Philly fans are the worst because they
You
threw
are.
batteries
I
at
mean, look at
Santa
you.
50
Just
years
look at
ago.
you. You're the worst.
Like,
You're the worst. Everybody can't stand you.
but this
People
is what
like
I'm
me on this
saying.
podcast.
When
I
they're
run the show.
when NFL fans teams are good, whose fans are good? Like who is good
Oh no, the
NFL fans?
Patriots fans are the worst.
Patriots fans are the worst throughout the entire Tom Brady decade. Chiefs fans, I don't know if you know any Chiefs fans, are just about the
I do.
worst in the
I,
fucking world
I
now
do.
that they have
And you
Mahomes.
know one too. So my brother's friend, my friend Weston.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
dude, diehard Chiefs fan. But granted, he has been his whole life. But when they won that first Super Bowl, man, he was insufferable to be around. And ever
Yeah.
since, like I can't be around him when football's going on. He's the most annoying piece of shit. I love him.
And then I'll tell you what, and then you can also put Cowboys fans and 49ers fans, because I know a bunch of them, just the worst.
Well, I think
Like the
collectively,
worst.
if you're not a Cowboys fan, everybody hates you.
Yeah. And now apparently if everybody hates the Philadelphia Eagles, which good. Our
Everybody hates
fan base,
everybody. Look at this
which
world
I'm
we live
fine
in.
with. Good.
Fuck world
But just
peace,
like
right?
stop acting like
When it
the
comes to sports.
Bills. I like the Bills, but the Bills fans and players being little bitches about this game, it's just like fuck off. Like what do
Well,
you
they're
like? It's a game.
TJ. What can
Huh.
you expect from fans who jump on tables?
I mean, well, first off, that's an awesome tradition, and I wish the Eagles did that. But
One of my other favorite traditions in football is the mustard ketchup dude that just gets sprayed. That is hysterical. That is hysterical every time.
So Jordan Phillips, number 97, there's that viral video now that went out where he gets in the face of an Eagles fan and a bunch of Bills players come up to him, and props to that Eagles fan because he didn't back down for a second, got right in the guy's face. But Jordan Phillips in the game, he was just being a little bitch the entire, I mean, he's a big bitch because he's fucking huge, but he was being a bitch across the board because he had that interaction with the fan on the sidelines. There's a bunch of other videos where he kept trying to get that fan like thrown out, and they just didn't throw him out because he didn't fucking do anything. And then in this game, he was the one who tried to do the blow up like the Philly the tush push, where he just jumped across the line and tried to like, he also dove at Hurts head when he was already on the ground. He was like doing that thing where he would put his leg on players to get up, like just like a dirty douchebag. And
He's Mac Jonesing it.
yeah, I'm so glad he's going to be fined for the fan interaction, because during the game, he was just like all over the field for just like dirty shit. So fuck you. Fuck everybody in the NFL who isn't the Eagles or Eagles fans. I'm scorched earth now. This game was the cherry on top. I'm scorched earth. Let's move on, Casino, to other games. And let's talk about the Broncos Cleveland Browns game. So the Broncos now 6-5 after winning this game 29-12.
Sean Payton's figuring something out, man.
Dude, against the now 7-4 Cleveland Browns. I mean,
Dude, the
Browns,
if they had a quarterback, man.
yeah.
If they had a fucking quarterback, man.
Dorian Thompson-Robinson gets knocked out of this game, so they're now back to PJ Walker. And Dorian Thompson-Robinson actually didn't have a bad game. 14 for 29, 134 yards, 1 touchdown. PJ Walker came in, really nothing going. But the Broncos, on the other hand, Russell Wilson, 13 for 22, 134 yards, 1 touchdown. But he also carried the ball 11 times for 34 yards and a touchdown. So Broncos defense looks good. Their offense looks, fucking better than it did in weeks 1 through 4.
I mean, yeah, I watched I flipped over to that when Kareem Hunt was trying to, for fantasy. He was trying to get a touchdown, and man, their goal line, the Broncos goal line, man, really strong, really, really strong.
The Browns have the best defense in the league, and the Broncos defense just looked better during the game. Like, Broncos look like their defense is back to being legit.
And you want to know who's not back though? And it's crazy how they won this game, but Russell Wilson still not good. Like, he didn't have a good game still.
That's what I'm saying. It's I don't know how they're winning these games. Them and the Steelers, how they have the records they do, I just do not understand. But the Cleveland Browns at 7-4, especially being in that division, do you think they make the playoffs or miss it right now today?
Oh, wait. Down to their third string quarterback. I think they miss it. I think Steelers will take it.
Yeah, next up they play the Rams, which Rams have looked good since Stafford came back.
I don't see Bengals coming back either, so I think they'll miss the playoffs.
Well, they play Jaguars, Rams, Texans, which I think
right now the Browns are in a playoff spot currently. But I don't know, man.
No,
they just lost the head-to-head against the Broncos. The Bills, I think, will still. I know they're on the fringe of not making the playoffs. I think they'll make the playoffs. I can't trust any of the teams from the AFC South, like the Colts or the Texans, to make the playoffs. It would be tough for them to do, but I don't know, man. I mean, one team that has surprised me, I know we're not going to really talk about them. I don't want to talk about it. The Raiders look so much better without McDaniels. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, also,
I know they got blown out, but they looked good early on. But the Chiefs finally actually had a Chiefs game. But anyway, we don't need to get into that one. But that was that team.
Impressed.
The Raiders
went up 14-0.
The Raiders can sneak in, man.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next game on this, which is the Jaguars, now 8-3.
I can't believe I didn't pick them.
I know. Neither of us picked them.
Speaking of picks, I had 10, you had 8. I win.
Oh, yeah. Now there is a 6-game difference heading into week 13. We'll do our picks on Friday. And against the now 6-5 Houston Texans, CJ Stroud almost did it again, where he led the game-winning drive. I mean, he still threw for 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Right,
like,
dude. You give this guy a couple more years, man. Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited to see him. He's going to be a top. He's going to be a top 5 quarterback within the next 1 or 2 years. I say 2 years.
Yeah. Well, on the season, he's 19-5, which is just, I mean, that's crazy for a rookie. Again, for a rookie on a Texans team where we were like, who do they have? They have nothing. And then all of a sudden he turns Tank Dell. I can't think of the other guy's name. He has Tank Dell, and then he has that one wide receiver.
Nico Collins.
Nico Collins. And then all of a sudden they lost Dameon Pierce, and then Devin Singletary came in and is just now like what the fuck did you see in Damian Pierce that made you think he was better than Devin Singletary? Or they didn't even lose him. I think he
I
was
mean,
out.
Singletary didn't rush well, but I mean, he caught for almost 10 yards a carry or 10
Yeah.
yards a catch.
But when it comes, and then obviously the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence had an okay game, 364 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I still think the Jaguars are overrated. They did that thing going into halftime where instead of kicking a field goal, they went for it on 4th down in their like in the red zone on like the 5-yard line, and it was just like it would have been a 2-score game, and that one almost cost them. But
Yeah,
it was
but
just
you know
like,
what's great
why are they doing that?
is the Jags are crushing it. Well, I think they're sitting second in because of their away schedule, or I don't remember.
Well, no,
But
they're third
they're
because they
they're
lost
third.
to both the Ravens and the Chiefs.
Right.
Sir, or no, they have not played the Ravens yet. So they play the Ravens in 3 weeks. Now
So yeah, they're sitting three.
they play the Bengals next Monday. They play the Browns, they play the Ravens, they play the Bucks, the Panthers, and the Titans. So I think they potentially lose to maybe Browns and Ravens. So they're still going to finish as a what, 8, 9, 10, 11. They're still going to finish as a 12-win team. I just think that if you're one of the AFC teams, you're licking your chops to get at the Jacksonville Jaguars, because I just don't think, I've said this for weeks now, I don't think they're a good team. I really don't. I just think I don't know how they're winning these games, but they're kind of just scraping by. And it doesn't feel like they have an elite team like the Eagles who are scraping by against, good teams, because the Jaguars, we've already seen, much like the Cowboys, a good team that we've seen get blown out by other good teams. So yeah, I don't know. Last game, casino, that we can talk about, and then we'll kind of
Yeah,
just go through the other ones, just kind of graze past them.
and then we need to talk. Maybe we'll do a little quick thing tomorrow because we do need to talk about college football.
Yeah,
I
especially this
I
past
only have
weekend.
5 minutes left tops.
Okay, so let's quickly talk about Ravens Chargers. Ravens win 20-10. Ravens are now 9-3. Chargers 4-7. That game was brutal to watch. When it comes to the Ravens, this was really the first game where I felt like, fuck, the loss of Mark Andrews is really feels like it's going to affect this team. Like,
Yeah, no, that's very true. That he was Mr. Reliable for them
yeah, and he was kind of Lamar's safety blanket. And I mean, you
all
look at the
day.
guys that were targeted in this game, their second best option is Zay Flowers. He was targeted 8 times, only caught 5 receptions for 21 yards and a touchdown. OBJ, 3 receptions, 34 yards, targeted 5 times. Outside of those two guys, you kind of don't really have anybody else. And then Mark Andrews was the number one go-to option on this team from Lamar. And this game, again, Chargers have one of, if not the worst pass defenses in the entire league. And Lamar Jackson goes 18 for 32, 177 yards and 1 touchdown. Also, we've seen from their team, their head coach, Lamar Jackson, we've seen them lose games where by the stats or whatever the fuck that thing is, where they're like, this team has a 98% chance win probability at this moment in the game. And then they lose that game. And you're just like, how? Like, John Harbaugh is just like the king of losing close games that he's almost 100% guaranteed to win. And then he just chokes it. And that's what this game felt like. Chargers, on the other hand, finally at 4-7, can we put the nail in this coffin? How Brandon Staley still has a job is, I think, beyond everybody's mind, right? Like,
Everybody, I have no idea. No idea.
there's
And I'll
why
tell you
does
right now,
he
next year, I'm not saying the Chargers are good.
I mean, there's rumors that this could be Jim Harbaugh's future team if all this shit with Michigan doesn't blow over, but the Chargers have to. I mean, they have to get like a John Gruden or a John Harbaugh or just somebody who is a known coach
Jim?
who has had success in the past. Jim Harbaugh, sorry. So Jim Harbaugh, a John Gruden, dude, go fucking get Eric Bieniemy. Like, what are you doing? Even promote Kellen Moore. Like, I just want to see somebody who has a pulse
Take
as
Belichick.
their head coach. I mean, I'd rather see Belichick than Staley coaching this team, but yeah. I don't know. AFC getting a lot thinner than I thought it would up top because you have the Chiefs, which have giant question marks, right? With their receiving options and all that kind of stuff. Now you have the Ravens with giant.
Oh, this might be an all birds fucking Super Bowl, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at this point, I don't know who I'd pick in the Super Bowl from the AFC. And then obviously in the NFC, I feel like it's 3 teams. But in the AFC, I mean,
Whoa, 4
kind of
teams.
got to be Chiefs. Oh, that's true. 4 teams. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
But all right, Casino, you got to get out of here.
I do. One last thing, though.
Yes. Oh, he's wearing the tramp shirt. That little tramp.
Dude, it's so cozy. This is my. And you're right. I do wear this at home more than I wear it out anywhere. But
I've never seen.
This is
you
what I like wearing at home. Like even during the summer, I'll put this on.
Yeah,
it's just cozy. I've washed this thing so many times, but yet the inside is still nice and soft, like a lamb's baby bottom. I don't know. just trying to think of something soft and cushiony.
No, it looks delicious. I want to cozy up to you next to a fire and just that shirt, and obviously what you wear with the podcast, no pants. But yeah,
Sorry for my son down here.
We might. I feel like we should do a little episode tomorrow. We'll talk about the rest of the games, talk about college football. So yeah, we'll do a mini episode tomorrow. I'm Will. That's Casino over there. Only Sport Podcast. Adios.